Maybe the save by the light, we'll have to see. But he's going to struggle anytime after the beginning of the game. This Holy Paladin is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and of course, Pyro, as long as he can keep some soul shards in reserve, will have a lot of burst potential with those haunts if he can just pump out a few of those whenever Feywin ends up popping his cooldown. So the game is now underway. We see Cervantes already going into Frost Presence over here, trying to put a little bit of damage out into Feywin here, but Feywin now popping his cooldowns as well. Pyro also popping that Dark Soul. They're just trying to put out a lot of damage, and already, actually, Fridorus and Cervantes both seeming like they're taking tons of damage here. The Save by the Light already proccing on Fridorus, forcing out that Blessing of Protection and the Wings and the Execution sentence from the Cavi.
Yeah, he still does have his Trinket and Bubble available, but those, I mean, he needs these healing cooldowns coming out from Avenging Wrath. Once those fades, his healing isn't going to be enough to heal through this Feral and this Warlock damage, especially because Pyro is basically doing anything he wants. He has the second Demon Soul up right now, just throwing Demon Soul dots on everyone. Incarnation and Berserk, though, coming out from Fridorus, trying to get a little bit of pressure on Waffle. He is able to just gate away, though. He is going to live for now. Fridorus getting dangerously low, down to around 40% HP. Cavi caught into that full fear as well as rooted up. Finally, out of that CC, Survival Instinct's going to be caught by Fridorus right now. He is going to get topped off with a nice clone coming out from Feywin. Waffle taking a little bit of damage. He is able to top himself off, and sort of both teams have stabilized. But Cervantes taking a lot of damage right now. Does have that, his offensive cooldown up. It is going to fade, so they're not going to be able to get too much pressure, and this is a scary moment for Cavi. Finally, no more cooldowns for him, doesn't have his wings up for 25 seconds, and his entire team is rotting down.
They did, though, manage to pull out all 3 trinkets from Team Solari Yellow, as well as one of the Spirit Links from Waffly, so there were a few cooldowns traded there. Feywin, of course, only has one of his Survival Instincts available at the moment also, but Fridorus getting really low there for just a second, does catch a nice heal, going to keep him alive for now, but he is out of Survival Instinct. No, excuse me, he does have one Survival Instinct available still, so both Druids actually tied up on those at the moment, but he's still just taking so much damage, and there's only so much that Cavi can really do to keep him alive. The double Shadow Fury coming out. Do they have any follow-up CC onto Cavi? They're actually going to use the offensive Cyclone onto Fridorus, keep him stuck at low HP. Can they follow up something onto Cavi here? No, he's going to get a couple of nice heals off and bring Fridorus back up again before that main comes out for just a second. But look at the rot pressure. Look at how all the members of 3 languages, one team, are just dipping lower and lower and lower as this game goes on.
Yes, Save by the Light proccing on Fridorus there. Cavi does have his Avenging Wrath up, decides to pop that, needs to heal through some of this damage. Save by the Light proccing on him as well, having a really hard time getting out that healing. But like I said, he still has his Trinket and his Bubble available if he needs his Cervantes getting cloned up low there. Decides to break that with the Desecrated Ground. He wants the Cavi to be able to top him off while he has his Avenging Wrath off. The full Hodge going out on the Waffle. They're trying to pressure him a little bit. Both these healers have a significant amount of mana, despite how much pressure is coming out by both these teams. They're both sitting relatively pretty when it comes to how much mana they have.
All right, Cervantes is going to be about down to half. And one thing to note is Cavi is going to be playing Hand of Purity instead of Clemency, so he's only going to have one set of hands for this game. But look at the damage coming out onto Walleye with forcing the second Spirit Link. And that was a really quick turnaround, just using that Pillar of Frost as their offensive burst, plus a double Trinket. So, wow, and look at that, he's going to go, wow, I thought he was going to die right there, having to use the Trinket also. His team really needs to help him out because it's so much damage, and that isn't even with the Incarnation burst.
Yeah, that Hodge into a DR Bash there almost cost Waffle his life. He had to Trinket that DR Bash, and now he doesn't really have any healing. No Trinket available. The next Hodge could be disastrous for him if he can't get any healing up on himself. The Nature's Guardian proccing on him as well, so he's not going to have that. Once Cavi's Hodge comes up, which is in a few seconds, it could be very, very dangerous for Waffle if Cervantes and Fridorus can connect onto him. Finally able to get away, cast a heal on himself. They're trying to turn around the pressure. Pyrocat and Feywin trying to get some counter pressure out, but that is the full Hodge. This could be it for Waffle. 3 languages wants to draw first blood in this matchup. Waffle looking like he's going to survive, but no, the Incarnation comes out. Waffle getting triple stunned up. He's going to go down, and 3 languages, kind of surprisingly, takes this first game against Solari Yellow.
Yeah, and we saw many times during that match, the whole team of 3 languages was just
a ton of damage. So they need to definitely have an eye out for that. Maybe save some cooldowns. But yeah, Waffle under a lot of pressure that game, playing that Restoration Shaman. And we're gonna have to see if Feywin and Pyro can turn around the pressure and make sure Cervantes and Fridorus have to play a little bit more defensive.
Yep, so the gates have now opened. We are currently 1-0 for 3 languages, 1 team. And wow, actually immediately just moving in there with that death grip, trying to put out some damage. Cavi actually hanging out in the open here. Not so worried about the CC possibilities at the moment. He just wants to keep his team alive and stay as far away as possible. Wants to avoid getting hit by Faywin as much as possible. But of course, he walks right directly into him. And now Faywin is going after Cavi for just a second here. But the spread pressure is still coming out for Solari Yellow here. They've got the bleeds going out, and they've got, they're trying at least to keep up those Warlock dots as well. Cervantes, the only member of that team that does not have those active at the moment. So it's going to be a tale of the spread pressure here in this matchup.
The unit frames are a little switched up for 3 languages, of course. That is going to be the Holy Paladin with the mana in the center. So as it up top, that is going to be lots of damage going out on to the Feral at that point, as he is healed to full. But then we do see it is going to be Cervantes that is at about down to half, as we see, you know, those cooldowns are being used. That Aura Mastery is up by Crater, and he does get stunned on that too. So that's a lot of crowd control going out, as we do see it is going to be the Dark Soul dots come out right all over the enemy team, and that's the thing you need to watch for. Look at the set of dots all over the team.
Yeah, Cavi still having his bubble. He was able to rotate his cooldowns pretty well, dealing with that double Dark Soul as well as the Incarnation coming out of Faywin and Pyro. He is caught into that full maim though right now, taking quite a bit of damage. Cervantes as well as Cavi very low at the moment. Sorry, Fridorus and Cavi very low at the moment. Taking so much damage from Faywin, and Pyrocat is able to get out that damage. Waffle Eye still having his trinket as well as both Spirit Links, so in a much better position than last game. This bigger map definitely working out for them.
Yeah, it is, as we do see a meme stun coming out on to Crater right there, as he does get cycloned also, and that is going to be Fridorus caught in the cyclone at that point. They are going to force Cervantes back into Blood Presence, which is really big in this matchup, and look at how healthy the team of Solari Yellow is.
Yeah, they've actually just forced the Divine Shield out from Cavi as well. Of course, Cavi, his unit frame is swapped around at the moment, so that would be, it shows as Cervantes at the moment, but that is Cavi in the center on the left side. And he's doing his best to try and keep his team alive, but having to use every single one of his defensive cooldowns. He's just now got his Avenging Wrath available again. So if Solari Yellow can keep this pressure up, Cavi's finding himself in a tougher and tougher situation as this match goes on. That said, Waffle Eye is taking quite a bit of damage as well. No, excuse me, actually it looks like those unit frames have also gotten mixed up a little bit. That's actually Faywin taking a bunch of damage and having to kite his way around this pillar here, as now Cervantes might be in some trouble, dipping low as well. It's actually like the pressure is just going back and forth at the moment.
It is.
It's hard to really tell who's on top.
Saved by the Light, he switched into to Blood Presence, having to Desecrated Ground also, as we do see it's just going to go back and forth onto the 2 DPS of 3 languages. Of course, we see some healing coming out by Cavi and it looks like his wings, he does have a long time on his wings to come back up. So it is going to be a little while till he's going to have that huge healing pressure coming out, as we see again that you just constantly see the Soulburn Haunt up by Pyro, as that's the thing he really needs to make sure that he has like full uptime on that to keep the pressure out on the team.
Yeah, like you said, his wings aren't coming up for quite some time, another 34 seconds. Meanwhile, Faywin having his Incarnation and Berserk coming on in 15 seconds, so he's going to have around 20 seconds if he times it right to really capitalize on Cavi not having the healing output necessary. Pyro also having that Dark Soul coming up very soon, so that's going to be their opportunity to really force a lot of cooldowns at Cavi, get that bubble and Avenging Wrath out of the way, and then possibly score a kill.
And it looks like Cervantes is back kind of by himself, as he is going to look. Nope, and wow, look, and Fridorus taking a bunch of damage. It's actually Cervantes at that point, down to half. But again, the Saved by the Light came back up, and he used Icebound Fortitude and the Execution Sentence. So that was a lot of defensive cooldowns overlapped on top of each other. As we see the Incarnation coming out, see if he can make something happen with it, but he's going to be taking a lot of damage himself. Fridorus getting quite low. Wow. Yeah,
Faywin actually took a lot of damage there too. Did catch a big heal though, and he got topped right back off. So this match actually could go either direction here at any point. The Death Grip now coming out. They're trying to put a whole bunch of damage into Waffle Eye, trying to maybe make a swap there, as Cervantes has got that anti-magic shell active. Fridorus now onto Waffle Eye as well, doing his best to keep that damage up. However, Waffle Eye going to use that gateway. He's going to get out of there, drop a couple totems. He's going to be able to heal himself back up, no problem. as they're just trying to keep this match going at this point.
Yeah, this is sort of the same story as last game. Once Cavi, Cervante, and Fruiterus stabilize, are able to get onto Waffle, pressure him a lot, sort of abuse the fact that he's a shaman. It's hard for him to get away, although he does have that gateway. Once Cervante and Fruiterus connect, there's not much he can really do once the Spirit Links are out of the way. That being said, he has both his Spirit Links as well as his Trinket available and ready to go. Cavi also still has his bubble. His wings are coming up in around 23 seconds, so both teams have a lot of cooldowns they can still work through. Dampening has just started. If we look, Cavi still has around 70% mana. Waffle taking quite a bit of damage there, throwing out the first Spirit Link. His mana is not looking good, down to around 30%. So if Cavi, Cervante, and Fruiterus can sort of keep the game going on, I mean, they have a big mana advantage going into Dampening.
Yeah, the triple Shadow Fury at that point is going to lead to some damage on to Cervantes at this point, as he is going to have to run away just for a little bit, trying to find a better target to hit, and that is going to be Pyro, that he's going to try to toss a little bit of damage out, and he is going to Trinket immediately, plus a Desecrated Ground from Cervantes too, so that's a few defensive cooldowns used from both teams. That AMS coming up, going to stop a little bit of the damage, as we do see Pyro getting a new pet out, but he's taking a lot of damage right now. That does look like the second link is going to come down. And that is going to be, he's going to have his Earth Shield on himself, and of course that is Waffle getting low.
Yeah, that is his second Spirit Link, and he's got 2 minutes before another one comes up, so he could be in a lot of trouble at this point if they keep making those Death Grips swaps. That said, Fruiterus getting very, very low at the moment, does have to catch that execution sentence to keep himself alive. Pyro looking like he may be the target of choice for the moment. They're putting a bunch of damage into him. He's trying to drop his portal, maybe trying to kite around a little bit, but now he's actually going to have to gateway out of there. He's got that Dark Regen active as well, doing his best to stay alive here, as we're now 10% into Dampening. The healing is going to get harder and harder for both of these healers as this continues to go. Of course, Dampening, if you're not familiar with the mechanic, it does reduce the amount of healing that's done as the match goes on, so that eventually, no matter what, somebody is going to die. And at the moment, it's looking like it might be Pyro. The Death Grip comes out. He's trying to kite away the Chains of Ice as well. He does have his Demon Soul active, but he's getting lower and lower on health. He's got Fruiterus right on his back, chasing him this entire time. The Shadow Fury comes out. That could be the only thing that really saves him there. And in fact, they're going to peel off and start going after Waffle instead for just a second there.
That is the Incarnation and Berserk coming out from Feywind, trying to turn around the pressure onto Cervante right now, who's so low. Caveat also taking a lot of damage at the moment. He still has his bubble if he really needs it. Might have to use it. There it is, the pressure coming out. But at this point, Waffle is so low. But it looks like Pyro is going to be the one who goes down in this matchup. I like the split pressure coming out from Cervante as well as Fruiterus, making it a nightmare for Waffle to deal with this pressure.
Yeah, so that was, of course, Pyro that went down. Apologies for the slight UI glitch there, making it a little bit difficult to keep track of which character was which. But of course, the nameplates in the center were correct the entire time.
Yeah, we're going to follow the Warrior out, and he is going to be playing Arms too, not playing that Fury Turbo, which we've seen a couple times in the past, and not too many other interesting talent choices so far. Pretty much standard for both. But let's see how this Warrior is going to handle this, because, you know, like you're saying, what if this is the third string alt? What if it's the fourth string alt?
Well,
like,
and it's interesting.
It's really going to have to prove.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at who is playing which class on that team as well. Feywind actually going, he was the Feral Druid, now he's playing Restoration Druid, and Pyro, the Warlock, playing the Enhancement Shaman. And I'm actually not sure which player the Warrior is. I'm not sure which name that matches up to. But Feywind already taking a lot of damage, having to get over here up on this platform, trying to heal himself back up. He does still have all of his cooldowns except for Bark Skin available, so he should be totally fine. But now Pyro may be in a lot of trouble here on the Enhancement Shaman, having to pop that Shamanistic Rage. He does have the Iron Bark active as well. That's a lot of cooldowns onto Pyro just to keep him alive through this opening burst from Cervantes and Fruiterus.
I mean, Fruiterus hasn't even used his Incarnation or Berserk yet, and Pyro is going to be in a lot of trouble having no Shamanistic Rage and no Iron Bark available for him. So when he finally pops that, and there it is, this could be the end of the game. Just so much pressure coming out from three languages, taking out Solari Yellow easily. They're not going to be going down to these alts today, and they are going to be advancing to BlizzCon.
Wow, and congratulations to three languages. It's just too strong, that Pillar of Frost on the Frost DK with that double.
Now, probably one of the most iconic raids of all time, and one of the most story relevant. Now, Icecrown Citadel was the final raid in Wrath of the Lich King, and also the fortress of the Lich King himself, which was the main villain at the time. Now, in my opinion, this is the only raid and maybe the only expansion so far where you actually had a feel you were fighting the Lich King, and that he was a direct threat to the world, and that every action against artist kinda made an effect. So it was something completely different. You really just had this feel you were fighting a greater evil, and there was an actual threat to the world. It wasn't just like in Cataclysm. Even though, for example, Deathwing was amazing, he still wasn't that much of a threat, even though lore-wise he was. But in Wrath of the Lich King, there was just this feel about it with Arthas, and the Icecrown Citadel was the peak of it. Now, just entering the Icecrown Citadel was amazing. You had all these giant skeletons and spiders defending the entrance, and then just like with Karazhan, you had this multiple floor thing, which leads to the final encounter, and that was the Lich King. Now, this isn't just a regular raid or just like a minor boss. This is Arthas, I mean the one who destroyed the entirety of Lordaeron and took over Northrend and made the Scourge to what it was. Pretty much a major threat to the entire world and a force of its own, completely splitting apart from the Burning Legion. Now, ever since Warcraft 3, the story has just been building up, so it finally can be finished in this raid. And once you get to the top, you actually had the feeling you were at the top of the world and at the throne of the Lich King, the evil himself. And after a long fight together with Tyrion, Arthas was finally defeated, and thus the entire storyline, which was one of the most important storylines in the entire Warcraft universe, finally ended.
King rules forever, my son.
I see only darkness before me.
And lastly, number 1, Ulduar. Now, the reason why this is number 1 on the list is because it matches all of these qualities that I've considered for this list. So mechanics, atmosphere, and the lore, and also the receival of the community. Now, it came out in a patch during Wrath of the Lich King expansion, and soon it turned out to be, as a lot of people call it, the peak of the World of Warcraft raiding. Now, it is an ancient titan complex located in Storm Peaks, and the entire thing is just an addition to the still ongoing story of the Titans and how they got to this world and how they pretty much made this world as it is. Now, the raid itself though had multiple bosses, and every boss was just like a completely different thing. Now, both mechanics wise and environment wise, and the entire thing felt like a part of something. It wasn't just like one of those raids or dungeons where you just go there, fight bosses, just standing there and waiting for you to attack them, and they aren't really nothing more than just obstacles that you have to complete in order to finish the raid. While in Ulduar it was completely different. I mean, you were fighting all these crazy bosses, these constructs, titan watchers, dragons, and all in their own chambers that matched the entire thing. And apart from that, it felt like it was made for the titans. I mean, everything in Ulduar was giant, and you had all these massive doorways and walls that made you feel like an ant in the entire thing. And it was just something different and something that wasn't just a weekly grindfest, and hopefully there will be raid like this in the future of the game that will be able to actually match the greatness of Ulduar.
Bran Bronzebeard's forces assaulted the gates of Ulduar. They battled the Iron Lords and their cursed minions.
Evasive action! Evasive action!
He won't stop talking about this presence he felt, permeating the great halls, stirring in their minds, chilling their blood. He said, the horror that the Titans imprisoned so long ago, Yogg-Saron, has awakened.
So that is all I have for this list. Of course, this doesn't mean that the other raids sucked or anything like that. This is just my opinion on them from my own perspective. But anyways, which raids do you like the most and you thought were the best ones in the game? And also give some reasons why. And also don't forget to leave some